is the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this four-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion, three times over, 140 pounds, 147.
So with the best, I gotta give it to him. Bud best, right? He's hands down. He's the best. He's the best right now. I don't think nobody need to question him no more. I mean, you kind of gotta give him respect no matter what. You gotta give him respect. He just went up 2 weight classes what people said he couldn't do. He's doing everything that people say he
World
can't.
champion, as you know. I've been a three-division world champion. I've only won one of the belts. I don't know what it is to be undisputed. Don't know that feeling. Do you understand? What he did last night is
Stephen A. Smith confronted Floyd Mayweather for downplaying Terence Crawford's victory over Canelo, emphasizing that Crawford achieved something historic by becoming undisputed in multiple weight divisions, something no fighter had ever done before. He insisted that Crawford earned every part of his legacy and deserves universal respect, not criticism. Smith highlighted that Crawford's triumph over Canelo was more than just another win. It was a defining moment that cemented his place among the all-time greats. He made it clear that Mayweather's negativity could never overshadow Crawford's remarkable accomplishment.
Fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this four-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion, three times over, 140 pounds, 147. Don't see people doing that very often. Going up against a guy who was perceived as being bigger and stronger. Crawford was strong. Crawford was strong enough to fend him off, strong enough to make him respect his own power. He used his jab, he used his distance.
Jeff Mayweather voiced strong opinions on the shock Crawford delivered to Canelo, stressing that the defeat will forever impact Canelo's legacy. He noted that Canelo was once the undisputed king of his division, commanding both status and dominance, yet suffered a humbling loss to a challenger who moved up in weight to face him in his own fortress. For Jeff, this was not a minor blemish, but a lasting stain that will remain attached to Canelo's name in boxing history. He emphasized that champions in their prime are defined by key moments, and for Canelo, that defining moment turned into a devastating loss at the hands of Crawford.
With Chavez. What did this do to his legacy? Because I don't think he caught, the Floyd fight didn't give him, people didn't really look down on him because he was, even though he had 40 fights, he was still, fighting one of the greatest ever and absolute master in b-ball. He went up weight classes to win. But now he's fighting a smaller guy, a great fighter, but a smaller guy. Does this damage his legacy in any way?
Well, I think it does. Because one thing is just that, you were the king of that weight class. And king of that weight class for a good while. Can't say that, he had followers, but he became the face of boxing.
And even though it's another, future Hall of Famer, still losing a guy come up a couple weight classes, it kind of makes you seem not as great.
Jeff Mayweather strongly expressed his views on the shock Crawford delivered to Canelo, asserting that the defeat will forever shape Canelo's legacy. He pointed out that Canelo, once the undisputed king of his division with unmatched status and dominance, suffered a humbling loss to a challenger who dared to move up in weight and face him in his own fortress. To Jeff, this was not just a blemish, but a permanent stain on Canelo's name in boxing history. He underlined that true champions are remembered for defining moments, and for Canelo, that defining moment tragically became a crushing defeat at the hands of Crawford.
Terence Bud Crawford, moving up 2 weight divisions, really 3 in my mind, because we only fought 1 fight at the junior middleweight division. So he's really moving up from 147 pounds, okay? Terence Bud Crawford, moving up to the 168-pound limit in an effort to claim the undisputed super middleweight championship of the world from the grasp of Saul Canelo Alvarez. Now, I was there. Because let me tell you something right now. There's very, very few sporting events in the world that are better than a super fight in Vegas. I can tell you that right now. There's very, very few events. Props to Nick Khan of the WWE.
Crawford's trainer stated firmly after the fight that his fighter has nothing left to prove, declaring that Terence has reached a point where his respect should be beyond question. Still, frustration lingers as some critics continue to dismiss his accomplishments. Even after dismantling one of the sport's biggest names, Crawford finds himself fighting narratives outside the ring. His trainer emphasized that Terence isn't even thinking about another bout right now, because his performance against Canelo was more than enough to secure his legacy. For Crawford, the mission is no longer about chasing names. It's about preserving a greatness that can never be denied.
Terence Crawford. And his well-renowned trainer, two-time trainer against Super Hall of Fame champion Brian Bomac McIntyre, recently did an interview in which Bomac stated that our fight is not happening. And this fight is a fight that everybody wants to see Canelo Alvarez in. And Canelo Alvarez refused this fight. With a 28-year-old, two-division world reigning WBC light heavyweight, former two-time WBC super middleweight, the Mexican Ecuadorian superstar. It's one of my favorite fighters, great person. The Ecuadorian It was 30 wins, no loss, no draw, 24 wins, no way not. Standing 2 with 75-inch arm, and fight at 175. The entire time David Benavidez was fighting at 168. Canelo Alvarez was brought up. He never used to fight. So with that said, now people are trying to project this fight on Terence Crawford. And they're saying that Terence Crawford needs to fight. So Bomac yesterday did an interview, and Bomac said they're not fighting David Benavidez. And so now people are pushing this notion Terence Crawford is ducking and Terence Crawford is scared of David Benavidez. And if he don't fight David Benavidez...
Timothy Bradley delivered one of the boldest assessments by directly comparing Crawford with Floyd Mayweather, declaring that Crawford's name now belongs at the very top of the greatest of all time conversation. For Bradley, this wasn't just about Crawford defeating Canelo. It was about redefining what it truly means to be pound for pound number one. He acknowledged Floyd's mastery of the sport in his era, but argued that Crawford proved he could do it at an even higher level by taking on and beating Canelo at his peak. In Bradley's view, this victory elevated Crawford into a realm reserved only for the absolute legends of boxing.
Ain't nothing else he needs to do. Ain't nothing else he needs to do in boxing. Yep, y'all doubt him now? I saw some of y'all goofies on y'all channels. You come here and you get the real over here. That's what you get over here. You want the real? You want a real breakdown from a real fighter, Hall of Famer? That's what you do. You come right here and you gonna get the real and you gonna get the truth. Dang it, that's what you gonna get. Leave them other lames alone and come right on over here. Yeah, and get the truth and nothing but the truth. I've been trying to tell y'all for years about this. Been trying to tell y'all for years about Terence Crawford.
Roy Jones Jr. offered a measured perspective, noting that unlike when Floyd Mayweather defeated Canelo years ago, this time both fighters were in their prime. He explained that Floyd benefited from facing a young, less experienced Canelo, which allowed him to outbox him with superior skill and ring IQ. In contrast, Crawford faced a fully mature, seasoned version of Canelo, the same fighter who had dominated his division for years. Despite being naturally smaller, Crawford still dismantled him. For Roy, that fact alone makes Crawford's achievement extraordinary, as he overcame a Canelo who was far stronger, wiser, and sharper than the one Mayweather once fought.
Really, three weights above his natural weight class. Does that put him in the conversation with the likes of yourself as the greatest fighter of all time?
Yes, it does, and the reason it does is because he couldn't get the credibility down in his own weight class, so he went up to go challenge himself to fight it, and he found a very formidable, good opponent.
Do you think Canelo Alvarez is on the decline or not?
No, I don't think it's on decline at all.
So you think both fighters are still at their peak, even though they're 36, 37?
Yeah, I think they're both still at their peak. The age for Crawford would seem like he may be beyond it, but he hasn't had the fights, the tough fights we have put him there, and the years of boxing for Canelo would have put him in a position where they're about equal. So I think they both are pretty much in a great place. I think they're both still in their primes, and this is the best time to see them
Duke
fight.
McKenzie was left stunned by what he witnessed in the ring, stating that Canelo had no answers for Crawford's relentless pressure, blistering speed, and pinpoint precision. He described performance as both unbelievable and incredible, calling it one of the most complete displays ever seen in modern boxing. McKenzie emphasized that Crawford not only became undisputed, but also proved himself virtually unbeatable against even the toughest opponents. With a tone of awe and respect, he made it clear that Crawford has now set a standard so high that few, if any, fighters will ever be able to reach it.
What he did last night, unbelievable. He's a 3-time undisputed world champion, and he's beaten the best of the best. Now, for me, there were red flags way before this fight. Not way before the fight. You know, in the build-up to this fight, Canelo's body language in the run-up to this fight. You know, he turned up in Vegas in his stretch limo, in his Armani suit. He's had his kids and his wife in the back of the car, and he's got out strolling around like he owns the gaff. Now, all that signified to me was very comfortable man. It was too comfortable. And Terence Crawford took it real from the outset. Tracksuit, no nonsense, went there to win, said what he was going to do, told the world what he was going to do long before the fight. I think he asked for this fight many years ago. The discussion he had with Bill Haney. And it was him that actually suggested call out Canelo, which he laughed at the beginning, but then it came to fruition. And now it's come to fruition. I mean, what you saw in that fight yesterday, what I watched in that fight yesterday, it was for the purists. It really was. You really have to try and understand boxing and know what you're looking at. It was the feints. It was the way that he handled the bigger man. The little feints, the little side flips, the little flicking with the jabs, you know, hitting him with the head and the body, the little combinations, the little 2s and 3s. And also with Crawford, knowing how to close.
Trainer Robert Garcia gave one of the strongest endorsements of Crawford's greatness, claiming that in this context, he has achieved more than Floyd Mayweather. He noted that Crawford convincingly won 9, the 10 rounds against Canelo, while displaying a relentless hunger that Mayweather never showed at such a high-risk level. Garcia emphasized that Floyd never took the gamble of moving up to dominate a bigger champion in this way, making Crawford's triumph both unique and historic. For Garcia, it wasn't just about numbers or belts. It was about daring to take risks and succeeding, the very trait that separates legends from icons. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, and drop a comment to share your thoughts on Crawford's legacy.